All right. Hey, Mark Allen.
Hey, Becky.
um, all right. I want you to start by rather than me trying to introduce you, tell me who you are.
Oh, who I am. Uh, that's a very deep question. Ramana Maharshi specialized in just asking that. Uh, I am exactly the same as you of a field of conscious awareness. I'm not my body. I'm not my accomplishments in the world. I'm not my personality. I'm not even my thoughts or emotions. I'm a field of conscious awareness. How's that for an answer?
That is the best answer. Then not that there's a hierarchy of answers, but
Right,
I like I
right.
like that one. That's a good one for this podcast. Okay, so um first I want to just like I was trying to remember like how I first connected with you. And I know it was before the millionaire course. I don't know, but I took the millionaire course and I just want to tell you that I'm your poster child.
Oh, wonderful.
I,
Right.
am not saying that to brag, but like I took it and ran. And it's like now my brother, I talk to him on the phone every day for an hour. He's on it now. And he's quizzing. He like, I'll start talking. I'm like, I'm going to do this next. And he's like, Becky, that doesn't sound like ease. He's like,
Ah,
so he's like, he's all in it. He's like, what would Mark say? And so we've got this whole thing going here. And, but loving it, and just going full force into it. In fact, the podcast is part of that, is part of this vision that I've created.
right, right.
So,
That I love hearing stories like that. I hear them a lot of people who've taken what I've had to say and run with it and done just amazing things. I call them miracle stories. And so to back up to who I am, I mean, the reason you're interviewing me is
mhm.
because of my life story. And
Yeah.
that very briefly, it's just I was born knowing it was important to do what I loved. I ignored my father wanting me to go into business totally. I became an actor and a musician and through my 20s and a spiritual seeker. And I I turned 30. That was the day that changed my life. One day, getting one clear idea absolutely changed my life because when I up through my 20s, I was a complete poverty case. I had no money, no steady income at all, struggling to pay the rent every month in a very funky apartment in Oakland. I just drove by it the other day. I showed my wife the apartment. It was like, wow, that was really funky. I mean, bars on the windows on a really busy street. You know, it was funky. And somehow that was cool in my 20s to be a poverty case. But when I turned 30, this voice said, "You're not a kid anymore. What are you going to do with your life?" I saw a snatch of a poem by, who was it? That woman who recently passed, saying, "What are you going to do with your one single precious life?" You know, and that's kind of what I wondered. And I spent the day pacing up and down, and I ended up doing these simple things that started with remembering this disastrous back to the land experience I'd had at 22, where we were sitting around a fire one night, and this one couple said, "Let's play this game we play at church camp." They did church camp every summer with this. Let's just imagine 5 years have passed and your life has gone as well as you could imagine. What would your life look like? And we went around the fire, and I at age 30, I did not remember a word of what I said at 22, so it had no
Right.
impact. But when I turned 30, I thought, this is a good idea, but this time I'll write it down so I don't forget it. And I took a sheet of paper. I wrote ideal scene at the top. I dared dream of being 35 and said, what perfect life do I want? And much to my amazement, because I'd had nothing to do with business or money or anything, the first thing that spilled out was, I have a successful publishing company that publishes my books. I had written a book, and and my music, and other people, and this whole ideal scene spilled out. And then Every course I teach just has the same simple steps. I wrote my ideal scene, then I realized there was a whole list of goals. I wrote a whole list of goals, start a publishing company, start writing a book, start recording your music, start learning about real estate, because the big house was part of my, it was all starts because nothing was happening whatsoever. And then I sat with that for a while, and then I'd been reading books by Catherine Ponder, a Unity Church minister. In the 70s, she wrote some great books all about affirmations and the prosperity power of affirmations and stuff. And so I rewrote every one of my goals as an affirmation. I am now creating a successful publishing company. And I added a phrase she gave me that has been central to my enjoyment of life. I added, in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time, for the highest good of all. And I rewrote every goal as an affirmation. And I started carrying that affirmation around in my pocket. I put it on my wall. And then for each major goal, I found little plans would emerge, one-page plan. I could put it on one page. Later, I realized that was, for me, the perfect thing to do, because I think the greatest plans, they sometimes get too lengthy if we start writing them. And this is all about what I've come to believe, not that I've made any leap of belief, just from experience. It's all about getting your subconscious mind to say yes to your dreams of success, rather than saying yes to all our doubts and fears about, oh, it's so hard. And a one-page plan has just really helped me. My first one-page plan for business, I remember every word. It had 2 steps. Step 1, read a used business 101 textbook, because I never had a thing to do with. And number 2 was talk to people I know who know more about business than I do. And that was it. That was the plan I could make for launching a successful publishing company. That was as far as I could go. That's all but that was enough. That was, it didn't even take, it took a quarter of a page, It didn't even take a page. And sure, and I did those 2 things, and that led me on to realize, oh, I gotta make some kind of plan. And I made a plan and took one step after another.
Well, I like it because, I know I watch a lot of these like business people, and everybody's so ambitious and they're fierce and they're warriors and they're pumped and they're muscular and all this stuff. And I love, like, for me, like, your model is so much more me. I'm just a little fairy. I just like to play. I just love people. I love everything. So to be able to just kind of feel my way through it, as opposed to force my way through it, it makes more sense for me.
I'm convinced in the long run, it's absolutely not only the best way to live, it's the best for your health, and even the best for your career in the long run. To do things in an easy, real mastery. What? Ease. Real mastery is, I was just watching a video again of Jimi Hendrix playing a guitar, and 500,000 people there. He's chewing gum, and he's saying, and he leaned into the mic and said, "We're just jamming." And talk about ease.
Exactly. Well, and I think from what I've read of Shakti's books, Shakti Gawain's books, she was more of a doer. Is that correct?
Well, she definitely had higher energy than, she would sit up in bed in the morning and make her list of to-do things. She was a doer, but she really got, at least theoretically, the difference between doing and being, which she wrote a lot about. And like she was a person who worked on herself consciously every moment, and worked on everybody else she was with, her own mother, whoever she was with. She was constantly, she was almost, I don't know. She was definitely focused on consciousness growth, and that 24/7.
That's hard work. That's a lot of work.
I know. I told her she didn't have an off button. Something that Eckhart later talked about, an off button. I said that to Shakti. Sometimes just turn it off, just relax, just hang out in a hammock or do nothing for a while. Do nothing.
Well, I think some of it has to do with temperament. I know for myself, because my brother is constantly I think he's wired a lot like you, where he's up in California, like in the Tahoe area.
Mm.
And he actually just he sent me a video of himself, and he's in his pajamas right now, and he's like this is he's like it's just ease, and he's always reminding me, I know for me, like that, the term Shakti, that
Yeah,
like
right.
when I finally understood what that meant, I'm like, oh geez,
Yeah.
that's me. So, but it's understanding how to embody the Shiva part, the dark, placid one, with the Shakti within
Right.
myself.
It is embodying polarity. Shakti was
Yeah.
always talking about that. And that is true. There is the polarity of active and totally receptive and, doing and being. It's good to do both.
It's good to do both. Oh yeah, no, trust me. I think if most people saw my schedule, they would think that they would call me lazy too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like Eckhart actually talked about that once, and it made me feel so much better. And I think you were talking about it too, about that idea of like when you're in the vein, and sometimes you are energized, and
Yeah.
you
Oh,
go with
yeah.
that too. But it's like
Yes.
I was trying to explain to my brother that sometimes ease for me looks almost anxious, but it's just pure joy. Do you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the way I am. That's the way I write. I write in bursts. I write in bursts, sometimes at the oddest hours. My book, Visionary Business, a lot of it was written at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I would just wake up. Oh, this is what Bernie is saying in my mind, as fast as I could write. And it's some of my best writing. It's at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. having been asleep and then waking up. Oh, and then I'll go in bursts. I mean, I've written like 18 books and some of them are long. That's a lot of work, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So, okay, when you talk about lazy, what does that mean? Like what do you mean when you say lazy?
To me, lazy is one of my highest, best goals. It really, to me, does mean relaxed in the moment. No pusher, that
Yeah.
internal pusher.
Yeah.
Shakti Gawain was always talking about that because she had one. She had
Oh
this,
yeah.
oh, you should be, what, half the day's gone. What have you done today? This pusher. Well, my goal, and I think I've done it fairly successfully, is to put that pusher way back there and force him to like just lay on a hammock, have a drink, get out here. Don't put, because I want to relax. I want to do things in an easy, relaxed manner, a healthy and positive way. In my 20s, I was a musician and an actor for a while, and I loved the hours of that. They never start a thing till 1 p.m.
Right.
That's, you don't do mornings.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal, to continue that.
Yeah.
I don't do a thing till 1 p.m. And I built a very successful company. The way I see lazy is being, like totally relaxed.
Yeah.
I love to just try to follow my own energy. And often my energy wants to relax.
Yeah.
But then, I get up at 11 or so usually, and I have my coffee and I get some energy. And we're starting at maybe 1, 2, and some days it's for 2 hours. Some days it's for 4 hours. I'll definitely take care of, 300 emails and take care of business. But then whenever, just the other day, I got up at 11, I sat down at 1, and by like 2:30, I need a nap. I took a nap.
We should say that you are like a major independent publisher. Is that what you would call yourself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, you publish Eckhart Tolle, Shakti Gawain. You got a little bit of Deepak Chopra,
Dan
right?
Millman, the Joseph Campbell series. That we love that. That's doing great. Yeah, a lot of good things.
So
Sania Romo.
you're secretly a high-powered businessman.
Yeah, secretly, I like that. Yes, yes. Yeah. Though that's just so funny. Even looking, no one's ever called me a high-powered. When you said I spoke a while ago. I have to tell this story at this youth conference. It was a youth business summer thing at Sonoma State, where they had high school kids. They had like 300 high school kids there for a week learning business stuff. So these were motivated kids and everything. And they invited me to speak. This was like 6-7 years ago. They never invited me back, and I'm sure this is why. Because I got there like 15 minutes early, and it was behind this total type A maniac. He literally was saying, he said, the key to success, you get to the office earlier than anyone else.
No.
You work harder than anyone. You stay longer than anyone else. That was his energy. Like, and I was just cringing. And so he walked off, and I came on very slowly, looked around, I went, whew, and I picked up, and I said, well, they say the early bird gets the worm, right? But the late bird might get a whole Happy Meal. Who knows? I came up with it. And then I remember this joke and I said, and they always talk about the early bird, but what about the early worm? How did things work out for him? That's how it started. How did that work out? And so then I really pitched I said, look, there's alternatives. If you're naturally type A, if you're naturally energetic, if you wake up at 6 a.m. wanting to do nothing more than go into the office and make a fortune, good for you. If that's really your energy, good for you. Go for it. Just be sure to take care of yourself and don't push too hard, and take times to relax and rejuvenate. And that's great. I choose a whole other path. I said, I want to be lazy. I love being lazy.
Yeah.
And I found you can be lazy and successful. And that's my message. Afterwards, a bunch of kids just came up and surrounded me saying, thank you. Thank you. Because all week they'd gotten nothing but this, you got to be a type A monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just, thank you. I don't have to be what I'm not. I don't have.
Yeah. Well, and you probably were speaking to their little child souls, because a child just wants to like wiggle and,
right,
and be free and play and run
around, follow their energy. That's my dream, just to follow my energy. Sometimes I'm lazy. Yeah. Sometimes I'm literally running around sometimes. Yeah. I have a puppy now. I'm running a lot with that crazy puppy energy, man. She is so energetic. It's awesome.
Awesome. All right. So I wanted to ask you about, so you studied Buddhist Tantra for a long time when you were young, right?
Yeah. So 3.5 years at a Tibetan center. But before that, I did 6 months of Zen and at a Zen center. And looking back, I think that was far more valuable, actually.
The Zen study was more than the, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think since I started following your stuff, I've got it right here, the Tantra for the West. This This is the one that I sent you a message. It fell off the shelf one day. It just fell off, and it opened up to where is it? Oh, I don't know if I've got it here. It opened up to this great poem that you had written I love the story. You wrote the poem while you were making love with someone.
Oh, yes.
I was like, this is so amazing. Like you said that it just kind of came to you, right?
Right. It was with Shakti Gawain, actually. Yeah, it was in the afternoon. The sun was pouring in the window, and we started making love, and these words started coming. I remember every lover with such sweet feet. And I said to her, oh, so sorry, I've got to take, and I scribbled, and then we went back to it, and then more came. Sorry, I scribbled, then more came. It's a long poem. It's a long poem. I bet like over a dozen times oh, sorry, there's more words. they're just pouring out.
Luckily, you were with Shakti. I'm sure she understood.
She did totally. She was
She probably
totally.
thought it was cool.
Yeah, she thought it was great.
um,
The end of the poem I loved. We don't have the greatest teaching of all in love or something is that we don't have to hang on to anyone else. We don't need a lover to be in love. Oh, it's better than that. But even alone, we're never alone.
yeah.
Even alone, we're always all one.
Yeah.
And
And that hit me really hard because I'm for the first time in my life, I'm recently divorced and single. And I read and loving it. Like, and that was like validation for me. It was like,
yes,
oh, like that I'm never alone. Like, and I can't really explain that, but it because I'm always connected to everything, you know?
yes. As those words spilled out, I remember, and I hadn't been smoking anything or anything, but I just when I put even alone, we're never alone, even alone, we're always all one. I realized when you take the word alone and just add some space in between, and then add another L that stands for love, and then alone becomes all one.
Oh,
That's the image I had. Alone becomes all one.
oh, I love it. I love it. And the other part of the poem that really popped out, I had never heard of the dakinis before.
Ah, yes, yes.
And I said, this is something, this is something. And so I've always had this feeling that I have these little angels around me, but they're not like most people talk about angels or their guardian angels. Mine are more like these little kind of mischievous little magical, they're tantric angels. So they're kind of like tricky and they give you little things, little challenges.
Right. Do they give you teachings? Yeah, dakinis in Tibet are a big deal. Padmasambhava, the great magician who brought Buddhism to Tibet, he claimed, and the tradition, he got all his teachings from dakinis, and they were in meditation. He meditated a lot. Supposedly, he meditated 5 years each in all the 8 graveyards of India, the 8 biggest graveyards. He meditated 5 years, and he got all this instruction from dakinis, female goddesses. And then as he traveled with 2 women, one named Yeshe Chogyal, who wrote his autobiography, that were real life dakinis, he said.
Yeah.
They were his real dakinis. And all his teachings were from dakinis. It's a wonderful tradition. It's like angels, but that give you all the sacred teachings.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not always, I mean, depending on, you had talked about, I saw an interview with you and you were talking about Tantra is stepping into the poison, which is, you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. My Tibetan teachers, there's a famous Tibetan story that there's 3 different types of people on the path, and they're all perfect. The first is the monk or the nun who goes up the path, and across the path is a bunch of poison. And in Tibetan, poison means the same thing as all our negative emotions: anger, fear, jealousy. They're poisons. And in fact, I think that might be literally true.
I think so too.
Poison our body.
Yeah.
But so the monk or the nun comes up, sees the poison, and immediately goes the other way. That's their path. The bodhisattva, whose goal is to enlighten all of humanity, to keep reincarnating and to keep loving and serving people so much that every human becomes enlightened. Yeah. They see the poison growing across the path. They plow right through it and keep going up that path. That's the bodhisattva.
Yeah.
Then the tantric yogi into tantra, which is Tantra is really the yoga of every moment. It's the teachings in every moment. The tantric yogi comes walking up the path, sees the poison, and immediately goes off the path into the center of the poison. Plunges right into the center of it.
Yeah.
Says, okay, what's this about?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 different paths.
Yeah.
So I think the path of Tantra is great for Americans. We're not good at being monks or nuns. At least I'm not.
Yeah.
And the wonderful idealism of the bodhisattva is wonderful, but I can't relate to it. So our path is Tantra, I think, meaning seeing what's in every moment.
Yeah.
And if there is a poison there, go get into it. Don't fear it at all.
Yeah.
Dive in the center and see what it is, and it will bring its teachings to you.
So the Bodhisattva, are they, so they're not, I don't understand how they're, so what are they, what's their reaction? How do they deal with the poison?
They plow through it.
Okay.
They go right through it. And it does, because they're enlightened beings. The Bodhisattvas are enlightened. And so they can deal with poison. They can deal with anything.
Yeah.
They keep going up.
It's kind of like Jesus, just
kind of like, go right. Just keep connected.
Yeah.
God, or however you put it, to enlightenment, and keep up your path. And that's what a lot of good teachers are there, where they're really connected with some valuable teachings, and they really share it with humanity. And so whatever poisons arise, they move through them quickly and get onto their teaching.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, and when I saw an interview with you talking about that, and I said, oh my gosh, this is me. And my mentor, Joe, I'm like, I went to him and I said, you've been doing Tantra teaching with me all this time, haven't you? He's like, yeah, I don't usually tell people that. But he's always like, keep going, just do it. It's not, you don't avoid, you just go right into it, whatever it is. And like you were saying, it doesn't have to last that long. The poison, I think when you look at it head on, it dissolves very fast. It's almost like you have power over it. Yeah.
Right. It's like you throw open these closet doors and really look at all your fears.
Yeah.
All your jealousy. Whatever comes up for you. If you really, really look at it, it does dissolve quite quickly.
Yeah.
It really does. If you realize how, all our fears are unfounded when you go through.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah. Okay. So Eckhart, tell me a little bit about him.
Oh, I love Eckhart. I just saw him in Oakland at this big theater, Paramount. And the peak experience for me, and it was a total peak experience of my life, one of the most wonderful things, was just when he ambled out onto the stage. 3,000 people just stood and applauded and cheered, and there was such love and gratefulness for that man and the way he's affecting the world. I was talking to him, just pre-COVID, he was in Russia, and there were 6,000 people that showed up. 6,000. And I said, oh my God, Eckhart, that's bigger than Sermon on the Mount. And he's not exactly self-effacing. He just has no ego.
Right.
But he just chuckled. He said, well, Jesus didn't have a microphone. But no, I love Eckhart. He's taken my life to another level. When I first read Power of Now, I would take just sentences and use them as a mantra. For 18 months, I just kept repeating over and over, to offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. And then later on, I went through a divorce, a very difficult divorce, and I kept offer no resistance to this. It's what happens. It's what is. I can be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. Eckhart's the best teacher on earth, for me anyway.
Yeah, I had heard, I think you had sent out your what is it, your moon day?
Reflections. Yes.
I love those so much. I look forward to them every morning. I'll be at the beach. I'm at the beach every morning, and Monday I'm like, oh, it's Monday, yay! And I read it.
Good.
But yeah, you had mentioned the no resistance, that quote, and I've been carrying that with me. It's actually quite magical. Like when you I mean, it's not. Yes. For me, it's not what you think. Like that means, again, it's kind of the poison. That means whatever comes up is going to come up, but there's no resistance. You just, you know what?
Looking back, I decided the day I turned 20 to do this experiment.
Yeah.
And the experiment was about the power of affirmations in prayer, and basically to really become aware of it, what I was saying, and really get deeply into it. And that one phrase, to offer no resistance to life, is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really can fill us with grace, ease, and lightness, just repeating those words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just thinking that last night as I went to bed around 2 a.m. or 3 or whatever. It was like grace, ease, and lightness. You just repeat those words. Just through the day, repeat and imagine you're sort of filled. Grace kind of comes to you and fills us. Ease is from within. It's all up to us. It's an inside job. So grace is sort of outer, ease is inner, and then lightness happens when we connect with grace and ease.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, life, as Buddha said, life is a bitch.
That's a better way to say
it. That's his first teaching. I saw it. A guy in Berkeley had a big T-shirt in big block letters said, "Life is a bitch, and then you die."
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. That's Buddha's first teaching. That's really true. Life is a bitch, but we can make it easy, relaxed, healthy, positive. We don't have to suffer emotionally. We'll have some emotional pain, physical pain, if something happens to us, something hurts, but we don't need that emotional suffering at all. We can reach a state, and it's not that hard. It's just finding the right words to program our consciousness. We can discover grace, ease, and lightness. For me, Eckhart really, he's the way. He's the way for me. I mean, Jesus is great to follow too. He's quite wonderful. Eckhart often quotes him, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is within." Oh,
yeah.
And Buddha is a great teacher, one of the greatest ever, with his Four Noble Truths showing, yes, life is suffering, but we don't have to suffer. And here's how we quit suffering. We realize the cause of suffering is within our own minds. It's not the world out there doing to us. It's us doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And we can just let go of those thoughts and feelings that aren't serving us.
And what Eckhart gives to all of this is quite literally the title, The Power of Now. I mean, and that's the thing. I'll be honest, I haven't read the whole Power of Now, but
I told him I wasn't able to finish the book either. I mean, I was there when we recorded, but I got up to page, I think it was 156 in the hardcover. 155 was To Offer No Resistance.
Yeah.
And then in 156, there was this other great quote that just stopped me. I put it on my wall, and the happiness derived from some secondary source is never very deep.
Yeah.
Well, he means any happiness from anyone out there. We think, if we have the right relationship and the right, income, and then we'll be happy. But no, that has nothing to do with the happiness. The true happiness is not caused by anything external. It's all internal.
Yeah.
The happiness derived from some secondary source is never very deep. It is a pale reflection of the joy of being, the vibrant peace we find within when we enter a state of non-resistance. To me, I feel, that's enough for this lifetime for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's I've done that with Shakti's books and yours as well. And again, this is a confession to say this to a publisher. But I get to points in the book where I just go, and I just have to put the book down. I pull out my pen, I underline, and I go, and I can I can just sit on it for I think all of the books, when it has that gem in it, and that's all you
Yeah.
need. And you know what, for somebody else, they might need to read 3 more pages or 3 more chapters,
Hmm.
but the
Or
power
a
of
hundred
good.
more books, but at some point, yes, it's just one phrase.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
phrase is all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when life gets tough, just being able to, you'll know you got that phrase if it comes
Yeah.
when you need it
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah. And I'm like that
Yeah,
with music. What
I'm
were you
that
going
way
to say?
too. I do not encourage people to finish the whole book.
Yeah.
No, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Stop and pause and reflect and yeah, pick up your notebook or just remember it.
Yeah.
Remember.
Yeah. And I mean, like I was going through some stressful stuff this week, and I pulled up Shakti's book. This is my
Oh,
favorite. This is like, I feel like,
yes.
because there's a lot of male teachers out there. Ram Dass is one of my big guys, and
Hmm.
you and Eckhart, and but to have a woman's voice have that kind of motherly, mother
Yes.
goddess type voice, and
Yeah.
she holds it. She holds it so well.
Yeah. Yeah. She really does. She she was incredible, that's for sure. And her work lives on,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great to see.
So I think I heard a podcast. Are you working on a new book right now?
I've been messing around with a new book for quite a while, but I actually finished a novel just for fun.
Ooh.
I finished a novel. My own company doesn't want to publish it. I started the company to publish my books, and we grew. Now I have an acquisitions committee. And I said, I wrote a novel called The Misadventures of John Stuckey. And and my own company said, well, we haven't done that well with fiction. And so wait, I founded this company. I own this company. But uh, I have to or I choose to listen to them, and I don't want to force them to publish something they don't think they can do well with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll find another publisher, or I might even start up something with my cousin to do fiction. We've been talking.
Fiction is fun. It's a totally different,
Yes.
I think I always think of like Young, and Joseph Campbell, and the archetypes, and
Mhm.
that's when you write fiction, you're telling the same things. I mean, I don't know for
Yeah.
sure, but you're telling the same stuff you're saying in your books, in your nonfiction, but you're
Yes.
telling it through story and through fable.
Yes. I know I love fiction too now. That's just about all I ever read. And I have a big quote from Tolstoy on the wall. He says, the task of the writer is to seize the reader by the back of the neck and force him to love life. I love that. That's good fiction. Love, and that's kind of the bottom line of all the nonfiction. It's Power Now. You end up, this life is incredible. We should love this life. Love
Yeah.
this life.
Yeah.
And Tolstoy is the same.
Yeah, I told you that my new affirmation that I came up with is, I use my words to heal myself and the world.
Oh, wonderful.
And,
That's
and yeah, yeah.
yes.
And that's my mission for my umbrella company. My brother gets really, because he's kind of my coach sometimes, and he's like, you got all these different things going here, I've got these like multiple rings in the circus, and
Mm.
so he said, make an umbrella, draw, so the other day I just made a
Ah,
thing, like, so I drew an umbrella, and then I put my little things, and then I because I can get scattered, I'm a little ADD, I guess, so I focus, I'm like, okay, here's what I need to do now. But
right.
the umbrella is that we can all use our words to heal ourselves and the world.
Yes. That's a
And
great affirmation. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, and that's my mission, is to through the podcast right now, what are we doing? We're using our words, and it's just a casual conversation, but it's everything. Every time you communicate, it's an opportunity for opening the vessel, or like you say, the portal, and opening that connection, so we don't feel so alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that words are powerful. In the beginning was the word. The
Yeah.
words are really the beginning of creation. I
Yeah.
mean, there's thought first behind the word, then there's the word. And uh, that's been my experiment with life. How powerful are these words? If I just keep repeating the right words, what happens? And it's amazing to see what happens.
Yeah. So part of my umbrella is I'm creating a card deck that I'm calling the Unbound Truth cards because, I've written 14 and self-published 14 books, and it's great. But I realize my real message again, it's that the guru's within. We all need to make our own book. It's what, you talk
Mm.
about, we have
Mhm.
to make our own affirmations. So these
Mhm.
cards are, rather than doing like tarot, which I think makes people feels a little occulty to some people, especially
Mhm.
out here in Florida. Some people don't like it. So they're
Mhm.
just words. They're powerful, beautiful words. And then like if I'm doing like a class with someone, they can look at the words. I say, what words stand out to you? And then they
Mhm.
can talk about the words. And then the goal is to do like you offer, is like, well, pick the words. What words do you want in your vision, in your ideal scene? What words do you
Yeah.
want? And
Yeah.
so and then if these people are writers, they can write with these words, or they can just stick them on their wall, you
Hmm.
know?
I love that.
Yeah,
And I love the title Unbound Truth. I love the double meaning. Like it's a card deck, so it's like not bound. It's not
exactly.
bound. It's
Exactly.
unbound.
Yeah.
Just cards, but it's also unbound
Yeah.
truth. No
Yeah.
boundaries. It's
Exactly.
wonderful.
Cool.
Wonderful title.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about it. I'm just,
Yeah.
I have so many things. So there's a question for you. So when you have like all of these different, I mean, I know you have your music and you have all of your different things, and yet we're living this life of ease.
Yeah.
It all, I think I can
Yeah.
answer my question myself. I'll see what you
Yeah.
say, but
Right. Yes, yes, yes.
if
That's
you're okay with that.
sure. I love it. I love it. I,
But
that
I
way I can
think
sit back and drink my coffee and do
good,
nothing.
good. So I think what it is that something about the ease. It's like, our impulse in our culture is to, we got to keep working, work harder. But actually, it's like when you sit back and you spend like 2 hours on the beach writing poetry, then when I
Yeah.
get to work and I do my 2 hours or whatever of core work, paying bills, whatever I need to do, it, it's easy. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And
Yes.
somehow it's all getting done in its own perfect time and an easy,
Yeah.
and I keep saying that to myself when I start to panic. I'm like, oh, I've got too many things going on. No.
Mhm. No, no. Right. Yeah. I think the breaks away from the work are just as important and maybe more important
Yeah.
than the work.
Yeah.
It's just like we need that time to rejuvenate. We need the time to relax. We had a submission a while ago about all these famous people that were into naps and everything. And it was all, talking about it, like in Einstein, for instance, that, he'd be grappling with something, he'd just go take a nap. And so often, uh, things would emerge after the nap that would not have emerged if he wouldn't have taken off and just relaxed for an hour.
And it's so weird because when I just go off path in quotes, like I when I'm it's actually that's why I feel like I don't rest lately, because the moment I start to rest, then it all comes and then everything
Um,
just synthesizes. I'm like, darn it, here we
yeah.
go. And I got to start writing.
Uh-huh. Right, 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 right. Yeah. I have this image of I have like a laser. It's sort of shaped like a flying saucer and it has different focuses.
Yeah.
There's my company, there's my book, there's music,
Yeah.
there's what, and I focus. But then, and the most important thing is I just often just turn the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Just, okay, be here now.
Yeah.
Don't focus on anything.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. See, I don't see, that's what's weird. And this is just something I'll have to play with, because I like, honestly, the minute I go into my, if I just
Mm.
chill, that's it, it's almost like the dakinis are like, awesome, you
They're
cleared the
waiting.
space, let's go.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like the
Oh, that's
genius comes in.
yeah. Oh, I know what you mean. That's great. I've never quite heard that before, but it is true. So often when you do deeply relax, then these ideas come. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
I
yeah,
always it's really good to have by your bed a pen and paper. I like pen and paper rather than, or sometimes I'll just, I'll run down to my office and jump on the MacBook Pro and with ideas that plop in there as soon as I relax. Uh, but there, most of the time, though, I just relax.
well, you are a good inspiration.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So I I've run after I took the millionaire course with you and have been discovering the power of affirmations, which I admit I was kind of cynical of. I had kind of, I don't know. I don't know why, but I was a little bit cynical until I took your course and I thought, "Oh, I like getting it through you. I understood it better." But I've talked to a number of people who say, "Oh, affirmations don't work." And I've even heard two people say, "Oh, I followed such and such affirmations and I ended up poor and in the street." I
Right.
heard that from two different people, which I don't
Right.
know if that's true or not. But what do you say to that? Like, how do
I
you what?
say they're absolutely right. They absolutely don't work for them because that's their belief that they don't work. Like Henry Ford said, if you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. So I looked at, I I can be skeptical and want scientific proof of things, but I decided to just say I'm going to experiment with
yeah,
this. I
yeah,
know. I remember seeing Hamlet when I was 15 and walking out, and I needed to be alone because I thought of over and over Hamlet saying, "There is far more in heaven and earth, Horatio, than is dreamt of in your philosophy." And I said, "That's true. That's true of everybody. Even all the scientific people or all the gurus or
yeah,
whoever, they think
yeah,
they've got it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's far more in heaven and earth
yeah,
than any of us can comprehend."
yeah, yeah,
So that that sort of opened my mind. So I said, okay, I'm going to just try to
yeah,
affirm these things. I'm
yeah.
just going to say these words and see what happens. I know that, come to think of it, that was when I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was 21 or 22, I found a little book in a magical bookstore called The Art of True Healing by Israel Regardie. The
Uh-huh.
Art of True Healing. I was in horrible health. I was uh, in my last year of college. I had taken tons of crystal methadone for 2 years,
Ooh.
and I was not in good health whatsoever. And I found that book, and I sat down, and it had this meditation called the Middle Pillar Meditation, which I have now on YouTube, my my simplified version of it. But I sat down with this book and said, "Oh, a meditation, how interesting." And I tried it sitting in a big easy chair. And it took like 45 minutes. And I remember I got up. I felt like 20 pounds lighter. I felt healed. I
Yeah,
felt healed.
yeah,
And I know my heart rate had decreased. My blood pressure had dropped. Methadone drives your blood pressure through the roof. And I had, I know it really healed my body in
yeah,
many substantial ways. And so I started doing that regularly. And it's just visualizing
yeah,
healing energy through your whole body, just
yeah.
going through healing, healing, healing. And so that visualization of healing is the same as when you get the right affirmation,
Yeah,
it feels like it affects every cell of your body.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
to offer no resistance
yeah.
leads you into grace, ease, and lightness. You can feel that grace, ease, and lightness as you repeat those powerful words. Hmm.
I think so why I mean this wisdom has been there for
Ever.
since the beginning. Yeah. And it's served up in so many ways, and now especially it's so accessible. Why do people suffer so much still?
Ah, that's a good question. It's Eckhart talks about it a lot and with such great depth and precision and everything. And I feel almost clumsy even, but our entire, life is a bitch. Our
Yeah.
entire, our society, uh, often most of us had a family that didn't really support their vision and dreams, and a few did, but then it's society. You go to school, you're 6 years old, you're supposed to sit there and behind a desk for 6 hours,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then the media,
Yeah.
every ad you see says, "Oh, you're not enough. You need this product." Oh,
Yeah.
they're basically affirming you're just you're not enough. You're incomplete.
Yeah.
And we just we get millions of impressions uh, that try to convince us that something is really wrong with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something's wrong with us. Something's wrong with the world. I remember in my early 20s having these periods of depression, and I kept thinking something is wrong with me and something is wrong with the world. But I kept trying to put it in, trying to nail it down. Okay, what exactly is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What exactly is wrong with the world?
Mm-hmm.
And I had difficulty doing that. I mean, uh, but when you start asking those questions, what's wrong? Well, your mind can come up with a million things of, oh, my parents didn't raise me right. I really had a horrible education. I'm not that intelligent at all. I'm
Yeah.
not very
Yeah.
smart. In fact, I was kind of a space case. You can go on and on and
Yeah.
on with what is wrong with you just by asking that question.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I love Eckhart, the word pain body,
Yes.
I've read about, what are they, samskaras. I actually met Michael Singer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
A
he's
bit.
out, he's about his place is about an hour from where I am. And so he has
Yeah.
the Temple of the Universe, I think he calls it. So you can go out there on Sundays and hang out with him. And I got to talk to him out there, and he was talking about some scaras, and I think that's what a pain body is. I think it's the same concept, really. Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
think so. Yeah, I think so. I never really grasped some samskara quite. That's why I love Eckhart. He
Yeah.
translates all
Yeah.
the wisdom of the ages
Yeah.
into our modern language and doesn't throw those words at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have pain body, and there's a collective pain bodies, and we're
Yeah.
born into it. And in our culture, some countries have a much heavier pain body than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, we all have this pain body. We all then end up developing this ongoing, repetitive thought process. And whether it's Zen Buddhism or Eckhart or Tibetan Buddhism or uh, ancient Hinduism, they all point, they say that's the problem. We all develop this continuous thought pattern that just goes on and on and on and on. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I wrote fairly recently, I wrote, who would have thought that thinking is the problem? Our thoughts will never go there. Our thoughts will never admit that they're the problem, but they're the problem. That's
Exactly.
it. That's the problem. That's what Eckhart says, Buddha says.
Yeah.
There is a state of consciousness beyond
Yeah.
that steady state of blah, 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 blah. And it's so easy to get there. You just let those thoughts go for a minute.
Yeah.
Just let them go. And
Yeah.
suddenly, in that silence, emerges the wonderful, magical present moment, which is all we ever have.
And I think that's where, when you're in that moment, that's where the affirmations, and again, it's the portal, it's the vessel. When you open that and you state your affirmations, that's when they have power. I think when you have your affirmations up here in your mind, and
Yeah.
you're just, it's not going to do
Hmm.
anything. You have
Yeah.
to be open, and yeah. And for me, it's just taken a lot of practice, a lot of, not practice, but reminders, all the time. Oh, here we are. Come on back,
Yeah.
and for me, it's a daily, it's all day long, really. And it's actually a process of love. It's just like, oh, here we are again. Come on back,
Mhm.
you
Yes,
know?
it is. It's constant. It's becoming aware of every thought.
Yeah.
Uh, and when I first heard that, I thought, oh my God, because I know, I'd say, okay, I'm going to become aware, and then 8 hours will pass. Oh, I forgot to reflect on in my thoughts for 8 hours, but more and more, I am more aware of every thought. You just become aware of every thought. You let go of the thoughts that are not serving you or supporting you, or I mean, I still have those things. A while ago, I knocked over a tube of toothpaste in the morning, and I heard my inner older abusive brother saying, "What a spaz."
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
I just I just looked at that and I laughed. I said, "Oh my God, you're still in there sometimes. Get out of here. Just you know, I'll only remember the few supportive things you said to me." And he did say a few things. He said I was a genius. Well, when I got the role of Romeo in my acting days in
Uh-huh.
Minneapolis, I played Romeo all summer. It was wonderful.
Oh.
But when I first got it, his response was a blonde wop. What is a wop? Is a word for Italian that
Yeah.
at the time was a swear word.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, he thought it was ridiculous." So that was the kind of support I got from my brother. But then he saw Romeo, and afterwards he said, "Genius, genius."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, that's what I'll remember my brother
Yeah.
telling me and
Yeah.
supporting me,
Yeah. Yeah.
being a genius. Okay, yeah, I'm a genius.
Well,
You
and
know,
I
I
I
believe we're
think,
all
yeah.
geniuses in some ways. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
And we're
I
all idiots.
absolutely. Yeah. And all you have to do is sit with someone long enough. And I think Mr. Rogers said something about, show me their stories. And and I'll there's
Yeah,
something, yeah. Um yeah,
everyone has an amazing story, and everyone is a genius in some creative way. We're just born with, but we're also totally clueless in other
yeah.
ways. And that's what makes life really interesting and relationships so good. We're all here to teach, and
Yeah.
we're all here to learn.
Well,
That's the
and
best thing.
yeah. And that's part of my understanding, and my mission is recognizing in everybody both parts of
Mm-hmm.
it, that we are so absolutely human. And maybe that, to me, is what appeals to me in Tantra, is that there's this humanity, this muck, this mess that we all are. And that's why, and actually, I have a question about that. So would you say Eckhart is both as well? Is he very human as well?
Well, boy, he is amazing. Eckhart is unique. Eh, he's way beyond every spiritual teacher I've ever met.
Yeah.
Uh, though I did have an old Zen teacher in Maui named Katsuki Sekara, who, in my opinion, had accomplished as much as Eckhart, meaning just about. In fact, I really think for both of those men, every moment of the day they were in a state of relaxed awareness.
Yeah.
There was no
Yeah.
anxiety. I just had dinner with Eckhart, and my wife just flat out said to him, "Do you have any anxiety?" And he just said, "No."
But he did, though, right?
Oh, he was suicidally depressed through his 20s. Yes, he
Yeah.
nearly that was his meditation. That was his amazing meditation. He nearly committed suicide several times. And when he was 29, at 3 a.m. in the morning, he was laying there saying, "I can't live with myself any longer." And that's when he finally, he said he spiraled into this just black void of fear and anxiety. And it was intense enough it like his ego died in a way. He tried to explain it, and he said he felt like a fist in his chest saying, resist nothing, resist nothing. Oh, don't even resist your own suicidal depression. If you're feeling suicidally depressed and you just accept it, most of us resist these, most of us resist a lot of things that happen to us. If we really, really accept it, it does become completely transformed into grace, ease, and lightness. He had an amazing one in Zen, they'd call it Kensho experience, an awakening experience that night. And basically from then on, I don't believe he had any anxiety.
Wow. Yeah. And it's interesting because I honor that. And at the same time, I really honor who I am. And I don't know how to say this without sounding, I don't mean to be arrogant, but it's like, I'm so grateful that he is who he is. And I'm grateful for my quirky, whatever, my little dramas that I go through every day. And, I'm because I think that's part of whatever this is, whatever I'm giving to the world. I think if I just went into that state, I would not, I mean, I would offer different things, but I think I'm here as this package,
Yes, I know exactly. I feel the same way.
So I kind of I mean, I don't want to say I love it, but I kind of love my little poisons, my little, dakinis, and they're poking, and, I kind of.
It helps you relate to people, for one thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And each of us are packaged with our own message.
Yeah.
Well, Marc, thank you so very much. You are an amazing person, and you are, I know personally I can be selfish about it and say you are an amazing inspiration to me, but I'm sure you are an amazing inspiration to many, many people.
Oh, well, thank you, Becky. It's been delightful. You're just delightful. I love what you're doing. I know you'll keep doing it.
Oh yeah.
Everything under
my
your
dakinis
umbrella.
won't let me.
Good. Yes,
Shakti's going.
Great. Good for you.
You've been listening to Secrets of an Everyday Mystic with your host, Becky Magnolia. For more information about me, you can go to magnoliamystic.com. Thank you for listening.